The Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of UNESCO IOC supports its 150 member states to build their scientific and institutional capacity in order to achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 14, which is to conserve and sustainably manage ocean and marine resources. With the designation of 2021 to 2030 as the United Nations Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development, ecosystem-based management strategies, such as marine spatial planning, are proven to be essential to promote the sustainable development of maritime activities, or in other words, the blue economy.
Blue economy really evolves around the sustainable use of ocean resources to achieve beneficial activities such as job creation, improved livelihoods, growth, and so forth, while also preserving the integrity of these coastal and marine resources.
We're very important in terms of the blue economy because the bulk of our economic activity can be derived from the blue economy. Fishermen are a key stakeholder. We utilize this marine space for sustained livelihoods, for employment and for food security, which is very important for the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Several key state agencies play a major role in the blue economy, such as the Port Authority, Maritime Services, Fisheries Division, Coast Guard, and tourism sectors. They benefit from, but also support, the MSP process.
Marine spatial planning seeks to establish a more rational use of marine and coastal space while balancing the need for development, sustainability, and the economic and social objectives, while considering the users or the stakeholders of the marine environment.
Marine spatial planning is important as well because it allows us to better utilize and demarcate space for fishers.
It would be in the interest of the Coast Guard to have a better understanding of what the zones in the maritime space is best used for. The more we understand what each sector or space in the maritime domain is for, then certainly we can enforce the rules that govern those predefined uses.
The role of shipping in marine spatial planning can conflict with other uses competing or vying for marine space, which include oil and gas, fishing, and other commercial uses. There must be meticulous deliberations in marine spatial planning on the role of shipping because replacing shipping lanes with other uses can subsequently result in vessels running aground, environmental catastrophes or collisions, and spillages at sea.
Because of the nature of the port, these large vessels call in so frequently, and the hot water that is emanated from the vessels, it impacts negatively on the marine life, and so in terms of MSP, it has to be zoned only to the activity of the port.
We developed a marine spatial database for the Gulf of Paria. We integrated data from the Coast Guard, from Maritime Services Division, from a number of key agencies that utilize this space in order for us to develop a marine spatial plan for the Gulf of Paria. Fishermen are important in that plan because we utilize that space. And what we did was get a participatory GIS. So we interviewed fishermen and we asked them to map on this GIS system where they fished, what type of substrate they found at the bottom of the sea, where the wrecks were, where the seagrass were, where the different habitats were, nursery areas, spawning areas, critical habitats, so that in the future we may be actually using GIS data to develop fisheries management measures that would better allow for use of this space.
Before we can make any operational decision, any strategic decision, any tactical decision, you need data. And in a country like Trinidad, we've had traditionally some issues with data collection, data sharing, and authoritative data.
Our port facilities and the security of our coastal waters pivot on MSP to form the major support for the blue economy. Zoning our waters for fishing, diving, shipping, as well as mapping threats, assist the sustainable development of fisheries and inter-island ferry services without conflict.
We believe there are ways to overcome these issues and challenges. Firstly, the development of an integrated marine spatial plan with focus on the blue economy, considering all the various stakeholders and marine users.
Since the Coast Guard is in the business of security, having to leverage the data collected by other stakeholders will only improve the way we do our operations.
Also, there can be the transfer of knowledge and capacity from other jurisdictions in the world where the blue economy model is viable, sustainable, and economically successful.
Marine spatial planning is integral to the overall planning and development of the marine sector as the organization with responsibility for planning of and carrying out the policy of the Assembly on the sector. We see this as important because it allows us to be informed in the decision-making process. We see it as an opportunity to totally map all the important aspects as to where you can clearly identify the necessary flora and fauna that affects the livelihood of our stakeholders. Key stakeholders will be our fisherfolk, our fishermen, most of our mariners, the divers.
Tourism is one of the main economic drivers for Tobago. And we have built our destination brand and the core assets of Tobago, which includes our sea and beaches, our local culture, people and heritage, our eco-adventure offerings, and even our ability to serve weddings and romance. There are many assets that rely on the quality of our marine resources in Tobago. We have a very diverse marine system, which has made us a very popular dive destination. And in addition to that, we have many activities within the Pigeon Point Heritage Park, which is one of our iconic locations. And the fact that these activities are extremely important to economic viability, it's important that they understand how this space can be used and how they can coexist together without deteriorating the quality of it.
Under the management of the Department of Natural Resources and Forestry, we're responsible for several wetlands, which are coastal in nature, and that include the Ramsar site of the Bonaccord Lagoon and Swamp. Our responsibilities in Northeast Tobago, in that area you have St. Giles, as well as Little Tobago, and to the front of Little Tobago you have Goat Island. You have the food web, you have the food chain, you have livelihood connected with some of this flora and fauna, and you have research associated with some of the biodiversity.
The Coastal Zone Management Unit in particular is responsible for the management of the coastal space, that small buffer, that small fringe. But we have a role to play in terms of how whatever actions take place in the coastline affect the marine space. Therefore, we are concerned with climate change issues of erosion. We are concerned with interventions that are necessary to ensure that the coastline is protected, but at the same time, the individuals from Tobago have dignified access to beaches and the coastal space.
Marine spatial planning affects us all, whether we go to the beach or not. It is clear that there is a synergistic effect between state agencies that collect data and other private and public agencies that use this data in marine spatial planning processes.
There's always competition for use of that land-water interface. And as such, conflict will arise and must arise.
The industry is so fragmented. There's so many users involved in marine spaces, and they all have their specific interests and their specific goals at hand. And many times, the concept of profits over environment can take precedence, and to that end, it can affect the ability for us to create a marine coastal zone and fulfill our marine coastal planning deliverables.
Another challenge is that of monitoring the operations that are taking place or have been taking place from time to time on the Tobago, such as poaching along the wetlands, the estuaries, the coastal areas, development for housing, development for road.
In order to be able to manage something properly, you need to first understand how it operates, how it functions, what is there, what are the resources that are present. And that is something that we do not have at present.
With marine spatial planning, we see the availability of information to share with all stakeholders so that they are better informed. As such, there is the greater need for communication, the sharing of information and data, so that all of us can be fully aware of the benefits to the blue economy.
There is a need for us to build capacity in order to build databases, in order to collect data, to analyze data. We've started doing joint patrols or surveillance, sometimes with members of the Coast Guard, sometimes with community groups and other agencies.
MSP uses science to tell us where and when to fish. It also helps manage coastal island ecosystems, which in turn directly enhances our tourism sector.
One of the ways we can achieve marine spatial planning in Tobago is through robust education and consultation. Many of the stakeholders do not understand the relevance of marine coastal planning and its ability to make us competitive for the foreseeable future. The fact is that many travelers now are extremely discerning, and they're looking for destinations that take a role or invest in sustainable tourism development.
We need to establish synergies and linkages between the different operators within the coastal space to ensure that whatever we do, everybody is informed, everybody participates, and the overall outcome is to the benefit of the entire population.
Marine spatial planning represents the best public mechanism to help us navigate the exciting realms of the blue economy and chart a way forward into the United Nations Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development.